Very good morning, everyone. Welcome to the flight deck. It's Captain Nabs with you once again, and I just want to say hello to everybody out there in Twitch land. It's been a while. It has really been a long while since we've done any of this. What can I say? It's just been an unbelievably busy summer for me, and yeah, it's not that I have not enjoyed this, because I have enjoyed streaming in the past, and I will still enjoy it in the future, but this summer just really completely got away from me in ways some ways I expected, but some ways I didn't expect as well. So I apologize to everyone who really does enjoy this channel, because I know there's a lot of you out there that do enjoy the streams, that do enjoy flying with me, that do enjoy watching the streams, and I will be hopefully getting them out there a little bit more frequently come September. It's almost September now. It's the last week of August, and I'm just, like I said, I'm hoping that come September it will be a little bit more frequent. I don't know if I'll be quite back to the once a week streaming. Things are still going to be a little bit chaotic for me in September and October of this year. And let me just put my phone on Do Not Disturb. There we go, so it doesn't bug me the whole day. So I don't guarantee that I will get all the streams in that I want to, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try my best to try and get at least twice a month, if not once a week, streams in for you guys to fly with me, to enjoy, to ask questions, and to talk about the state of the flight simulation world. So yeah, please feel free to ask any questions as we go through, as always, and I'm looking forward to this. We'll talk more about what's going on out there in the world once we get underway. Let's get this flight underway. I'm actually starting a little bit early, so my apologies to those of you who are regular subscribers and were hoping to participate in this. I started this stream a little bit earlier than I had planned, about half an hour earlier than originally planned. It's just because I've got a couple of things happening this afternoon, so I just wanted to try and get a little bit of a head start on this. I'm hoping we'll still take off by about 10 o'clock, which was the original stream start time, so anybody who wants to fly with me will not be too far behind if they're just getting ready to log in at that time. So yeah, but in the meantime, we're going to try and get this flight underway, and then once we get going, we're going to talk about the state of flight simulation. So let's get this flight underway, and what are we doing today? For those of you that have had a chance to forget, because it's been a long time, we are going to be flying today from Dallas, DFW, Fort Worth, our home base here for American Airlines, and the American Airlines World Headquarters as well, all the way up to St. Louis. It's really not a very far flight. It's 477 miles. It's going to take us a little bit over an hour to get there, and then what we're going to do in this mega stream is we're going to turn around and we're going to fly right back again. So we're going to go land in St. Louis, unload, service the aircraft, reset, reload, and fly back to DFW. And when we do that, that will be the end of this season of A Pilot's Life, and this will be the end of Chapter 1 of A Pilot's Life here. It's been... I've lost track of how many years I've been flying this now, but it's been several years I've been flying these Pilot Life streams. I think this is season 6 or 7 at this point. I've even lost track of that. I believe this is season 6, so I've done 6 separate schedules in A Pilot's Life, starting in the P3D world, moving off into the MSFS world, various airlines, various aircraft, and tons of different airports. So it's been lots of fun, but Simbit World released an update to A Pilot's Life, as many of you know about. Gosh, it was about 3 months ago, I think, called Chapter 2, where they basically take the similar concept, but they've really kind of improved the software, expanded upon it. So I'm going to start using that as well. I wanted to finish off the schedule because I had some really neat flights in here. I wanted to get this St. Louis turn done here, because I figured that was something we could probably do in a single stream as this whole St. Louis turn. So I want to get that done. But yeah, after this, we will say goodbye to Chapter 1 of A Pilot's Life. We'll move on to Chapter 2 for the future. We will not be using Pilot's Life Chapter 1, so I'll reset my career in Chapter 2, and we'll start again from scratch. But we will continue flight streaming, because I think it's kind of fun to tackle these career schedules live on stream. I think it's a lot of entertainment, and given that we have some now high-fidelity aircraft that could potentially fail on us, it just makes it that much more entertaining. All right, we're going to hop back into the flight deck here. There we go, get ourselves reset, and we're going to fire this up, and I would like to be airborne by 10 o'clock, or at least off the gate by 10 o'clock, which is 42 minutes from, sorry, it's 42 now, so it's 18 minutes from now, so this is going to have to be a pretty quick startup to get there in time. So again, I'm going to start off by just apologizing if things are not quite as good as they could be, because I am very out of practice with streaming and flight simulation. and things like this where my track IR is not quite tracking as well as it could. Let's just reset that a little bit and see if that does a better job of keeping in a field of vision. Not really. No. Nope. Trying to kind of find a place where it's going to stay in the field of vision of the track IR sensor, even as I try to turn my head upwards, and it just doesn't want to quite do it. We could also just do this and move my track IR sensor a little closer to center, close to where my camera is there. Speaking of cameras, no, it really does not want to pick it up if I move my head up that far. There, that's good enough. Okay, I've aimed it fairly high there. Hopefully that's going to be good to kind of keep it up there. All right, we don't have any ground power, so let's get some ground power established really quickly here. And then we can do the rest of this. And now something's gone on weird with this gate here. Now when I started the airplane, I started it as a default cold and dark PMDG aircraft, which includes the stairs. And so I think this is docked where it thinks the stairs are, and it's going to continue to dock where the stairs are now that it seems to have determined its position. So a little frustrating there. We're just going to kind of ignore that glitch. Hard to ever get these sims to be perfect. All right, let's move both IRSs to nav. Really kind of hard to kind of... Oop. Wrong button. That's this button. There we go. I'm just going to pause it for a second there. Test the overspeed, turn off the flight recorder, or turn on the flight recorder, and it does go on, no, off, sorry. Turn it off, it does go off, and then it's on. Check the engine controls, no lights except for the EEC on lights. Passenger oxygen's checked, the alternate gear extensions are checked. Everything up at top is checked. Alright, we're going to get the emergency lights on, the windshield heat on. Packs can go on even though there's currently no bleed source. They're on auto. And make sure our nav lights are on. That's pretty much it for the top for the initial power-up checklist, and then we can start getting into the airplane. So before we do that, let's also start talking about loading the airplane. So we are going to be using self-loading cargo today, as always. So there's self-loading cargo. And speaking of cameras, I totally did forget them. So there I am. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another flight on the PMDG 737. Okay, like I said, going to try and get this going quickly, and then we got so much to talk about because it's been so long since I...
Attention cabin crew, boarding positions, please.
It's been so long since we got really anything, any kind of discussion about what's going on in the flight sim world, so... Trying to make sure all my settings are correct. Again, also, it's just been a long time since I've streamed, so you'll pardon me if I do have to step aside for a moment here, look up something and reset a setting because it's just been so long. Sometimes not all of my settings are probably where they should be. So let's go ahead and hop into the FMC. See, the trouble with putting that track IR sensor so high is that then I can't look down at my FMC. There we go. Alright, so we're going to go into the FMC here. I'm going to pull up my handy-dandy tablet because it still has my FMC on it, and I just find it so much more comfortable to try and plan and set up using the FMC. So, we hit the position init button, 6R, and then we go to the next page to actually grab our position from the GPS. The GPS has figured out where we are, and we're going to copy that over to the IRS, so it'll tell the IRS where we are to start. And the IRS should be able to track us from there. On the route page today, we're going to do KDFW to KSTL, St. Louis, or St. Louis. I'm pretty sure they prefer St. Louis. American 261 should be the flight number, if I recall correctly. And I'll set that up in a minute on the yoke as well. Is it 261? It is, American 261. All right. Departures and arrivals. We're going to depart DFW, and let's start by checking out the weather. Alright, DFW weather says winds 110 at 5, so that's about it's pretty kind of neutral, but it would favor the 17th a little bit, so we're going to do 17. What departure are we on? I think we're heading to the northwest, so we're probably going to depart 17 right then instead of 18 left, which is a slightly longer taxi. Oops. And then I got to specify my departure procedure. So let's go ahead and pull up that trusty old flight plan. Hello, flight plan. Alright, hopefully you guys can see that nicely on the scope there. Nice, okay. I'm just going to get self-loading cargo out of the way for a minute here so we can focus on what we're doing here. So, American 261, DFW to St. Louis. And here's our routing. It's actually a very simple routing because it's not a very long flight. Acuna 9 departure. McAllister transition is the only transition available to us. Back to the route page, 6R. And if we hit next, you'll see that the first thing on the route now is Acuna 9 to MLC, and then we go direct to SGF and do the KDAL 3 arrival. That's it. Just a departure and an arrival. So SGF, and then we go departure arrival again. St. Louis this time. ILS 11 is the guess from SimBrief. SimBrief really is not very smart about this. It's fairly simplistic. They do the best they can, and I'm not trying to criticize, but they just simply look at the wind direction and pick a runway that is closest to the wind, and if there's multiple runways that are parallel to each other, they'll just sort of pick one at random. So it's not always a given. If there's going to be ATC, it may not necessarily match, but it'll give you some idea at least of what to expect. You can sort of, hopefully at least set up for the right landing flow, and then your star should be hopefully correct. We can always change it later. Of course, what's a morning without coffee, right? Alright, so we've got the route page set up. We can go ahead and activate and execute that. And then we can go to the perfinite page, 6R again. And if we go to our flight plan, so our estimated ZFW is going to be 112.8. And our fuel, actually, I didn't even check this out here. We got too much fuel already. You know what? We're going to run with it. We won't need to refuel in St. Louis. We'll just tanker that extra fuel. So I did not set anything up on this PMDG 737 really before we started. I just simply went with the default values. That defaults to being loaded at 25,000 pounds of fuel. So we're going to go with that. It's going to be a little heavier than planned. We might have a little higher fuel burn than planned, but we've also got the extra fuel. So that sometimes is the way it works out. Back to page 1. Reserves. 6767, so I'm going to round it up and say 6.8. Always round up like a reserve number. You always want to leave when you definitely have that fuel. You don't want to round down to 6.7 because then you have actually 67 pounds less than you're supposed to have to fly to your alternate. You'd rather leave just a little bit above than a little bit below. Cost index 31. That beeping just tells me that self-loaded cargo is done loading. I'm not ready yet, but they're ready. Cost index 31. 370 is the altitude. Pretty high for a relatively short flight, but if we get an unrestricted climb, it shouldn't be a problem. Winds 306 at 19 for the average wind. And there we go. We can execute the performance as well. N1 limit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my phone because I do have a performance calculator on here. I put it in there quite a while ago, but I do like it. All right. I don't think it's quite as accurate as the performance calculator built in the FMS. But what it does give me is it gives me a chance to have at least a power setting. So we're going to do KDFW. It doesn't really, 17 right, they're all pretty long runways here, so it doesn't matter too much. And we'll just put the temperature, the altimeter in. Temperature's 26, altimeter's standard, 2992. And the takeoff weight today, if we go back to the perfinite page, it's right there at the top left corner, 138,100. And what this always gives me at least is a nice D rate setting. So when I go to N1 limit there, it says to do a let's see here, takeoff 1. Yeah, it says I can do a takeoff 1 D rate to a temperature of 36. 36 in the 1L's box there. And it also will give me speeds, which usually don't quite match with what's in the FMC. So we're doing a flap 1 takeoff because it's a long runway, so we'll do the most efficient takeoff possible. It doesn't quite match. 140, 143, 149. This is saying 35, 36, 41. I'll go with this because it's also more in tune with the airplane. Tap the 3L button, the CFG button, and you can see the CFG there, 23%. And there we go. We are already set up for takeoff in the FMC. We're already fully loaded. We got the fuel. We're actually doing really good here, so we might be able to get this off on time. Alright, so let's have a quick look here. The overhead panel. All the switches are guarded. Yaw dampers on. The flaps, alternate flaps, is off and off. All the navigation transfer display switches are all centered. All the fuel pumps are currently off. Electrical, so the battery's on. All the generator standby switches are all guarded. We've got ground power on at this time. Circuit breakers and panel brightness we don't need to worry about. We've got normal equipment and cooling. Emergency lights are armed. Because we're not fueling, we don't need extra fuel. We can put the seatbelt sign on. And we're going to put the ignition on the left system today. So we always alternate from one flight to the next. One flight we start left, the next flight we start right, just to even the wear on the igniters. Windshield heat's on, probe heat's off right now, NTS is off. Hydraulic pumps, the engine pumps are on, but the electric pumps are off for now. And then we move over to the air conditioning panel, supply duct temperatures. We can check and set those. Everything's at 12 o'clock for auto, which is good. Recirc fans auto, packs are auto. Isolation valves open. Engine bleeds are on, but the AP bleed's off right now. 37,000 feet's our cruise altitude. Whoops, too high. There we go. And I honestly don't know what it is in St. Louis. I'm going to guess it's around 800 to 1,000. So I'm going to put 1,000 for now. We'll check it out in a few minutes. Auto. Lights are on. Nav, that looks all good. Coming down here, we're going to set, the altimeter is set at standard 2992, and while I'm thinking about it, I just want to set the flight number on here so I can remember it without looking at my vPilot window, because that's exactly what those knobs are for there. Let's see here. So V2 is going to be 141, so let's set 141 on the speed. Let's see here, 17 right, 176, I forget. I've been to Dallas many times, but I forget. We're going to have to look that up in a second. I think 10,000 is correct. Let's get the flight directors on. It does appear that we have nav, so let's make sure we arm LNAV and VNAV, especially LNAV, because this is an RNAV departure we're going to fly. Testing our FMC enunciators. Testing our lights on the flight deck, and boy, there are a lot of them. And we do not appear to have any burned out light bulbs, at least. Alright, auto brakes going to RTO, the gear is down, the GPWO switches are all guarded. Spoilers stowed, thrust levers are idle, flaps are up right now. Parking brake, there's a new parking brake procedure, which is a little more awkward, but I guess it's realistic. You have to tap the brake pedals, both brake pedals, before you can pull the switch. If you don't do that, it doesn't count for anything. The parking brake won't go on. I guess that's how the aircraft actually operates, but it was never something PMDG could do before due to the way the sims were kind of set up before. Testing the fire protection system. Red lights, yep. And testing the cargo fire suppression system. Also works. Let's get Unicom up since nobody is logged on to DFW this morning, but you never know. It's a Saturday morning, so we could get some ATC as we go here. Just going to set 2,000 for generic squawk code for now until we get everything happening. We can do a rudder trim check. It does move. Aileron trim check. Alright, and I think that we are all set up there. Alright, so let's start out with a pre-flight checklist. Alright, so pre-flight checklist. Oxygen. Tested 100%. Navigation, transfer, and display switches are all normal and auto. Window heat is on. Pressurization mode selector is auto. Flight instruments, we've got heading 089. Altimeter 2992. Parking brake is set. Trying to find just a nice place where I can kind of... Again, like I said, it's been a while since I've streamed, so this track IR sensor, I've moved it around a couple times, and it's not quite where I like it anymore. Engine start levers are cut off, the pre-flight checklist is complete, and we're ready for a quick departure briefing before we get the show on the road. And while we're thinking about it, let's just start up that APU as well. Let's get to number 1, the right side forward pump on. Start the APU, and then we'll brief while the APU is starting. Alright. Really? Mercy, mercy me. And I literally, I just flew the sim yesterday, and it was logged in. All right. There we go. Things that I've forgotten that I should always pre-ready, and one of them is I always tend to load up the charts and do this, load up the flight before I ever start the stream. But I guess I'm getting out of practice, not having streamed recently. So we're gonna just go with it, and hopefully I haven't forgotten anything too crucial for the streaming process here. I did change the title of this stream, right? I did successfully. Okay, good. Because it wouldn't be the first thing I'd forgotten. All right, the Akuna 9 departure, that's good. All right, so, yeah, in the event of any abnormality or the problem during taxi, we're going to stop. This will be a left seat takeoff malfunctions prior to the V1 of 135. I'll call stop or go. If the call is stop, I will close the thrust levers, apply maximum brake, disconnect the auto throttle, apply maximum first and stop on the runway. I'll set the parking brake and call for any required memorandum security checklists. If the call is go or at above V1, continue to take off at 400 feet. I'll call for a heading mode bank and ask you to identify the failure. The engine failure procedure in DFW, I believe it's just runway heading, so we're just going to maintain that heading. 176, I believe it is. We're going to double check it in a second here on the chart. We'll retract flaps above. Let's do this here. This is one thing I don't like, and so I always do change it. If I think about it, is the acceleration height and the reduction altitude. All right. The engine out acceleration height is 800 feet. So in the event of an engine failure, it's going to. We're going to start climbing at. We're going to stop our climb at 1,400 feet. We'll retract the flaps on schedule and then call for any required memorandum security checklists. Any questions about that part? No, that was easy, right? All right. On to the meat and potatoes of what we're actually going to do today, because I'm hoping that engine's not going to fail, but you always brief it just in case. We're going to be departing DFW here. It is 176 is the course for the 17s and 18s. I was right. So we are over here at D18. So we're right about here. We're going to be departing 17 right. So we're going to taxi. Let's see here. How would they do it here on this side? We're going to taxi Golf Zulu, and then Kilo Echo Golf, or as otherwise instructed by ATC. A little bit of a long taxi, but no hot spots or runway crossings along that route. The Kuna 9 RNAV departure is, let's see here, plate 60-3 effective on the 5th of November of 2020. We got radar required, RNAV 1, DDR, GPS required, props, nope, for use by turbojets only. Hey, that's us, that works. Okay, perfect. So, let's just do a side-by-side comparison here for the legs page. So for 17 right specifically, climb on heading 176 to intercept a course of 155 to Spira. Then on track 107 to cross J-Girl at or above 5,000 and at or below 240 knots. Then on depicted route to Akuna. So the 240 knot, 5,000 foot and above restrictions in there. The top altitude is 10,000, which I do have set. And the route after Spira J-Girl is Quartz, Big D, Seymour, Akuna, Tickus, and McAllister, MLC, and then we go direct to SGF, which is the first fix on arrival. So that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, terrain around here is 3,600 feet is the minimum sector altitude that clears all terrain around here. Weather's a beautiful day, gorgeous day all around. Operational, no MBLs in this aircraft. Everything should be functional again. We were dealing with a failed APU bleed for a while there, and here's the funny thing. I wonder if I reset that, because this thing's been in maintenance for a while, so it's got to have been fixed by now. But we did do like a turn or two with the APU failed, and no active failures. Let me just check and make sure that random service-based failures are on. Yes, okay, good. Okay. So there's no MELs. NOTAMs, just a quick check of the NOTAM system here. Make sure there's nothing relevant in DFW. I say quick, and there's no such thing as a quick check of the NOTAM system because there's too many NOTAMs. Okay, Whiskey Mike. Any of these taxiways I mentioned? No. Bravo between Alpha 7 and Golf. No, it's a Zulu bridge we're using, not the Alpha bridge. What else? Storage tank. Anything for 17 right. Nothing for 17 right. Good. SIDS. Nothing for the SID. We're going to use a Kuna 9 departure. Takeoff minimums change slightly, but not for 17 right. And we're not going to do an approach back here, so there we go. All right, no transit affects the departure. Immediate return will land back here on 17 center or any appropriate runway. Any questions? Squibbly, morning. How are you? Sorry to start it early on you, but I just want to try and get this done. I have some stuff kind of happening a little bit early this afternoon. Hopefully I'll get the stream done before then. So I just kind of got things fired up. We are basically just about ready to go here. We've got our APU generator is on. Flight deck to ground.
Go ahead, flight deck.
We will be ready in a minute.
Roger.
All right, so they are closing up. So let's go ahead and put the parking brake on so you guys can go ahead and remove the chocks, and all the ground services are no longer required. There goes the jet bridge. And all right, let's get ready for the before start checklist here.
Just a point about our seatbelt policy. While the signs are illuminated, please make sure your seatbelt is fastened. As soon as we take off, predict turning off the seatbelt sign. At that point, you are free to get up and move about the cabin. However, we advise you while sitting to keep your seatbelt.
I need the hydraulics only to turn the airplane. You're not supposed to turn the hydraulics on at this point, but I need to activate the rudder.
Soon we will show you a video informing you about.
All right, before start checklist. Flight deck door is closed and locked. Fuel is 25,000 pounds and all pumps are on. Passenger signs panel on. Windows are locked. MCP is V2141 heading 176, altitude 10,000. Takeoff speeds we've got. Let's go and put this up here now. V1 135, VR 136, V2 141. CDU pre-flight is complete. The rudder and aileron trim are free and zeroed. Taxi and takeoff briefing is complete. The anti-collision light is on. We are ready for pushback. Just make sure nobody's behind us at all. No, good. We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
One thing that should be added to this checklist and is not is the transponder. All right. Brakes are released.
Pushing back.
All right, here we go with the pushback, and we are underway. I should make sure I put this back to the current flight page so it automatically activates once we start the engines here. A beautiful morning in DFW.
You are clear behind, and you can start your engines at your discretion.
All right, so that's the taxiway there, so I need to just be careful that I don't block taxiway. So let's just turn now. All right, and we're going to start engine 1. Do I not have the APU bleed on? I do not. I don't know why. I always forget that, but I do. And now we've got dual bleed light on. There we go. Now that's starting. I don't know why that is so hard for me to learn that for some reason. A little bit off from the center line, but that's okay. Stop, push back.
Pushback complete. Set parking brakes, please.
Brakes are set.
Roger. Okay, the tow bar is disconnected,
All right.
and the
While I got
equipment is
distracted
clear. We
there,
will see you on the right-hand side.
25%, so there goes that. You are clear to disconnect. You are clear to disconnect and go to hand signals.
Thanks. Have a good flight. See you later.
There we go. Hi. I just feel rusty and out of practice on streaming. I really do. And I apologize for the early start. It was not kind of my intention to do it, but just I realized late yesterday, that I was going to have to try and be done a little earlier. So that's the only reason why I started. But I figured if I got off the gate, starting engine 2, around 10 o'clock, you'd still be here. You'd be able to get caught up pretty quickly. You're a rock star at getting stuff set up quickly, right? That's what I tell myself, anyways. All right. 21, 22, 23, 25. And really, it should be much more focused on the start process, because if you're ever going to kill a turbine engine, you've got the best chance of killing it during the start. If you botch the start, it's not that you botch the start per se, but if the start is a hot start or a hung start and you don't notice, you can turn an engine that costs like $5 million into a pretty substantial paperweight in a matter of seconds if you're not paying attention. So really, the engine start's one of the most crucial times for you to really be paying attention and make sure that everything is functioning the way you expect. Alright, I heard the switch go off there. The starter's disengaged. The valve did close. And the ITT or the EGT is stabilizing. So there we go. So we're good. Alright, we got 2 good starts. Let's go ahead and get these generators on the buses here. Probe heat. Packs back on. We can shut down the APU. Just a flaps 1 takeoff. And a flight control check. Elevators. Ailerons. Rudder. Blank. Before taxi checklist. Generators are on. Probe heat is on. Anti-ice is off. Isolation valve is auto. Engine start switches. Continuous. Recall. Checked. Auto brakes RTO. Engine start levers idle detent. Flight controls are checked. The ground equipment is clear. We're ready for taxi. This could be a heavy beast with 25 tons of fuel in the tanks. I don't even know which spot we're at. And I do find it does take a lot of power to kind of get this plane moving when she's starting out. Alright. We're at about spot 136 here, I think. There's no spot numbers painted on the ground. There should be, but there aren't. DFW traffic, American 261, spot 136, taxiing Golf and Zulu Bridge for Kilo Echo Golf, departure 17 right. Alright, so hopefully this is now triggered. And yes, the end flight button is the active button, so it has triggered. It is tracking the flight. Away we go. And I guess we should get the taxi light on. I look forward to one day having FS2 crew in this aircraft. Because boy, that makes life easier. It just takes so much of the workload off. There's a reason why there's 2 crew members operating airliners, and there's just so much work. And it's not always. There are times where it's quiet and 1 crew member can more than do it. And in crews in generally, you can usually have 1 crew member doing the work, and it's more than, you know, the autopilot's doing most of the work. Flying the airplane, the systems are all automated. 1 person monitoring and talking on the radio is more than enough to kind of keep everything going. But you talk about these busy phases here, departure right at, takeoff right after takeoff, terminal climb out, and also the approach and landing. You know, there's so much stuff going on that having a second person to do some of the tasks, do some of the workload, it really is a necessity almost. Really, it's not a bad model. The buildings they spend a lot of time on, but it's just a pity that the pavement markings, they don't even have spot numbers. so important for a realistic operation here at DFW, those spot numbers, but and it's one of those things, like, you know, a lot of time is kind of spent sometimes making these airports look really beautiful, but you got to think about seeing it from the pilot's perspective at the end of the day. What's the pilot going to see? What does he need to see to get his job done? And spot numbers, you know, they may seem relatively insignificant, but having them on the pavement, you know, it's like having taxiway signs. They are pretty important for getting the job done correctly and accurately. So it's a little bit frustrating just to see sometimes that these things are not as accurate as they could be. So why would an optimal flaps configuration be flaps 2 in a situation with 13,000 foot runway? You know, I don't know 100%. There's so many kind of dependencies and possibilities as to why flaps 2 might be optimal. It might even come down to performance. It might be that your engines are not going to give you good performance. There are speed limits as well for aircraft tires, usually, and aircraft wheels. It could be that in a hot and heavy condition, you may need too high a speed before rotation for flaps 1, even on a 13,000 foot runway. It may not be that the runway is the length, is the limit. Depending on your aircraft type, oftentimes, you know, certainly 13,000 feet is probably not the length, is not what's limiting the performance of the aircraft. It could be that there's a certain climb gradient, regardless of where you take off on that 13,000 foot runway. Once you lift off, there's a certain climb gradient that you have to meet.
With traffic, Air Canada, correction, Delta 222, gate Alpha 28, pushing start.
Both in the event of an engine failure and for like a normal takeoff, there's a minimum climb gradient. So it may be that flaps 1, you can't maintain that climb gradient. You know, there's any number of reasons why flap 2 might be more optimal than a flap 1 takeoff. So the reasons and the permutations are so complex that very seldom nowadays do crew members in airliners actually do their own sort of takeoff calculations. There's entire companies that are hired, and their whole job is to crunch the numbers and come up with takeoff data for pretty much any scenario. So they've crunched numbers in terms of required climb gradients. Is this the Zulu Bridge or the Yankee Bridge? It's the Zulu Bridge, right? In terms of required climb gradients, you know, obstacle clearance. Maybe there isn't one obstacle that you need to make sure that you clear that's a certain distance from the runway. So maybe you need a flaps 2 takeoff to ensure you clear that obstacle. Certainly with the hot, heavy conditions in Dallas, it's not so much that we're high, but we're heavy, and it's often hot in Dallas, so that often can impact your takeoff performance as well, making sure that you have enough thrust for the takeoff power setting. The one that always kind of got me was we used to depart Denver. I used to fly to Denver, and that was one that was actually a real challenge to fly, to get valid takeoff numbers for. If it was summer, we flew there only in the summer, and we flew there, it was hot, and there were days where it was 35 degrees in Denver. And Denver is 5,000 feet above sea level already, so you put a 36 degree day on there, the standard temperature for Denver should be 5 degrees. So you're looking at 30 degrees above standard or more. Very hot. There were days where we could not depart, even though the one runway there in Denver, I believe, is 16,000 feet long. We couldn't even depart on the 16,000 foot runway, and the reason was not because of the length of the runway. The reason was because of the climb performance. If the engine failed after departure, we could not meet the climb gradient, no matter how much power we put to the engine. If we put max power to the engine, it was not enough to meet the climb gradient. So it's not just the... What the... Oh, now I just hit something. I just hit a wall taxi. An invisible wall. Can I make it over with full power? Nope. Really? You've got to be kidding me. Alright, I hate to do this, but we're just going to slew it forward just a little bit. Just across these bridges, because these bridges are somehow effed. Hopefully we can keep moving now. Yeah. Alright. I don't think I've ever taxied across that bridge in this scenery before. But there is some kind of invisible wall there. Something it doesn't like. Remind me to report that to Microsoft when we're done. Alright. I hate to do that. There's literally no other way out of that situation other than a slew. Either forwards or backwards, but you'd have to slew somehow to get out of that situation. Or hook up a tug. Alright, so if you're a gate Alpha 28, you're somewhere over here, you should be able to catch up to me pretty quickly here. Alright. So this is not Kilo here, because this is just the terminal exit here, so it's Beam Juliet Yankee. There's a couple spots over here. That's the FBO as well, as far as I recall. I don't think I've ever been to that FBO, but I have, you see lots of nice business jets parked over here. Alright, I haven't been talking to my self-loading cargo too much here, so let's talk to them. Alright, so this should be Kilo, and then we'll take Echo Golf. Alright, so the threshold runway is right over there, so it's not going to take us too long. So what we'll do is we will tell the cabin crew to be seated for takeoff.
Traffic, Delta 222, taxi 17 right, apron to Kilo, and take Echo Golf, 17 right, hold short.
Alright, and let's see, the before takeoff checklist. Flaps, we've got flaps 1, green light, and you know what I didn't do? Trim setting, 5.88. Should be doing that right after we get everything started up here. But not quite 6, there we go, 5.88. So, inevitably the question, of course, why are there 3 lanes in this holding bay, and how do you know which one to use? Well, at the end of the day, the ground controller is going to tell you. As best as I can figure from what I've seen is basically it's kind of dependent on the various departure directions. So there's 3 lanes here in this holding bay, and then as you come around the corner, there's also 3 lanes. So you normally be on one of these 3 lanes. And what these 3 lanes basically do is they allow the ground controller to stack up departures going in different directions, and then the tower controller can pick them off one by one. And line people up that are going in different directions, so you don't get 2 or 3 people taking off going in the same exact direction, one right after the other, but you try to put a couple of guys going in different directions in between them. Where the division is, I don't know. All I know is that for me going north, northeast, I have only ever done Kilo Echo Golf. That has been the one I do every single time. It's Kilo Echo Golf. I don't know what the logic is for the other ones. I wonder if the taxiway is done up there now. There's also a new taxiway extension up here straight ahead that goes around the end of this runway. I don't know if it's completed in real life now. It is usable in real life. It looks like it's kind of there, but I think it's just that's like the construction on the satellite view. Alright, anyways, we are here at the runway. So we're going to go ahead and line up. So, oops, no, don't do that. So turn off lights off, taxi light off, strobe lights coming on, and auto throttle's coming on. Clear left and right. DFW traffic, American 261 is lining up runway 17 right departure, Kuna 7 departure. Got a beautiful morning for flying, at least. Alright, one last check because I'm just a nervous Nelly sometimes. Yes, my flight tracker is tracking. Alright. Toga. Takeoff. Check thrust. Nope, for some reason it did it again. I don't know why it does this. There we second time that's happened recently where the auto throttle disarms on takeoff.
V14. Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. The auto throttle back on again.
Forward traffic, Delta 222 is lining up 1 Mike 17 right departure.
Alright, command A, there's acceleration height. DFW traffic, American 261 airborne off 17 right through 2700, last call. Alright, flaps up. Max at 240 over there at J-Girl. Supposed to be about 5,000. So we haven't even made to Spira. I think we're gonna be okay, just watching it. See, that's my 10,000 foot circle there. Now that we've accelerated 240 knots, we're climbing like a banshee. See it make this restriction, but I really have very little doubt at this point that we're going to make this restriction at Spira, or at J-Girl here, since we're not even at Spira yet, and we're at 4,700 feet. There we go. There's the 5,000 foot restriction made. All right, so let's go ahead and do the after takeoff checklist here. After takeoff checklist. Engine bleeds on. Packs. Auto. Landing gear is up and off, and flaps are up. No lights. After takeoff checklist is complete. And we'll also set the higher altitude since there's no ATC online still. At least that's what I've seen. Nobody's pinged me yet. I got my G-Pilot window kind of hidden here. It's not intentional, but just kind of behind a bunch of other stuff going on here. But yeah, no ATC still. So 37,000 feet is set for our cruise. And away we go. We cross J-Girl, it'll accelerate to 250, and then further beyond that. And there we go. Goodbye, DFW, yet again on the Acuna departure. I see you there, Squibbly. Just rolling down the runway. Just a couple of lights in sight, but yeah, you're only just a couple minutes behind. So thank you for catching up, and sorry to pull the fast one on you. I was not trying to do that, but like I said, I just kind of realized that I kind of had to try and get done a little faster rather than slower. Alright, so there's the 250 acceleration, and here comes 10,000. We're going to hit full speed here. Unable 280 knots at JEXAV, so probably our descent speed is less than 280 knots, and that's why it doesn't accelerate the descent. It's smart sometimes like that. So there's Dallas down there. There's downtown Dallas is right up ahead there. If I could just, yeah, there's downtown Dallas. There's a beautiful river that just goes right by here. It's a huge river kind of walkway, and I guess it's also a floodplain as well, so when it does flood, this whole area can get filled with water because there's dikes on either side. You can see those kind of lines on either side. There's a dike on either side with a pathway down the top of the dike that people can walk on. It's a nice nature walk, but it also protects the city from flooding. And of course there is the Dallas Love Field right there, very close to downtown Dallas, not like the FW way out there in the distance, but this is also only meant to serve Dallas itself. It's also the hub of Southwest, and I'd like to say I'm really super stoked to hear that Bill Womack is finally going to release.
Delta 222 is airborne through 3,000 last call. On the
Bill Womack's going to finally release his Dallas Love scenery. First announced and was talking about it at least 2 or 3 years ago. I thought it was kind of a dead project, honestly, because it's just been so kind of long in the making. I thought it was dead, but apparently it is coming out. There was a recent announcement about it. I think it's INI Builds now is going to release it. I think originally Orbex, but I believe INI Builds is going to release it, but it's also releasing via his development company that released Portland. I can't think of what it's called right now, so I'm just trying to search up the news story real quick. And there it is. I Blue Yonder. That was the name. So INI Builds is going to release Dallas Love Field with I Blue Yonder. So Bill Womack's Dallas Love is going to finally release. And he talked about it probably like 2 or 3 years ago. Did an extensive interview about it. But apparently it's kind of on its final approach now. So finally, after all this time, and why Dallas Love? I mean, the reason at the end of the day is it's such a fantastic little hub for Southwest. So it's such a fantastic hub for Southwest. If you like flying the 737, Southwest is a great airline to kind of fly under the banner of the 737 banner. But the thing with flying for Southwest is that it doesn't really, none of its hubs are the major airports, really. It doesn't really have any major airports as the hubs. It doesn't have the Chicago O'Hare, the JFK, you know, the DFWs as its hubs. It has the smaller adjacent airports that are usually more conveniently closer to downtown, but also have a little bit less traffic, where it can kind of be the dominant player. So Dallas Love, Houston Hobby, Chicago Midway.
Traffic, American 124s, 8 miles.
These are the places where Southwest tends to haunt. So if you like to fly for Southwest, the trouble is, like, these kind of second-tier airports don't usually get as much love from the development community as the first-tier airports, as the major international airports. So I don't think there's ever been a high-quality model of Houston Hobby released. Dallas Love, there's never been a high-quality model released. It's imminent now, finally. Chicago Midway was one of the few that Derzywiecki did a good model of that a long time ago, and I believe they've re-released it in MSFS, or somebody recently released one for MSFS anyways, I can't remember who now. But yeah, so if you like flying the 737, obviously Southwest is a great company to fly for, but there's not a whole lot of airports supported. Its hubs are not well supported, so you've got to kind of put up with default scenery at a lot of its hubs. Okay, let's do 10,000s, since I kind of just yacked my way through that. Alright, so lights are off, seat belts can go off. Let's see here, pressurization check, so we're up to 6 on the diff. The cabin is climbing, the cabin altitude's climbing through 3,000, so that's good. And the fourth thing you should do at 10,000 feet is you should tune in the guard frequency. Not that it actually does anything on VATSIM, because you're not supposed to use the guard frequency at all at VATSIM. So I just tune it in, but I tune it in out of habit to show you that this is what we do, and we usually will also switch on the comms for number 2 so you can hear. Usually I'll turn the volume down, but at least you can hear in the background if somebody's calling you. Let's turn on stations, there we go. And of course we did transition as well. No real change to the altimeter anyways, but we'll just push the set standard button so it's set standard, so it doesn't complain that in yellow that we're still in the wrong setting here. And there we go. We are airborne, we're on our way to St. Louis. Take a few momentary external gratuitous shots here. There we go. And just center that perfectly. A nice little silhouette shot. Because eventually I'm going to need to put some title cards up for this, so it's nice to have those. I should probably actually do one without me. That one. Just a little bit jumpy on this external view. There we go. Nice. Alright, back in the flight deck. And let's chat, guys, because boy, my gosh, stuff has happened since since I streamed last. Whew, what a summer it's been. Yeah, like as I said before, I do have to apologize to everybody out there, all my fans on my channel. Both the YouTube channel and the Twitch channel have basically, they haven't died, but they have gone on a relative hiatus this summer. And it's just due to the amount of stuff happening this summer. it's been a great summer, but some of the stuff that's happened has been good, some of it's been bad, some of it was expected, some of it was not. But just summer in Canada is so short, and you really just have to celebrate and enjoy summer as much as possible in Canada. It's so short, and here I am crammed down in my basement, but for for an entire Saturday morning. But yeah, it is. It's such a just a short time that you've got to take advantage of it while you can. So I've had a very productive summer. It's been good and it's been bad. There was some unfortunate news this summer. My one dog unfortunately got sick this summer. He shattered his leg because he had bone cancer, which we didn't know he had bone cancer in his leg until he shattered his leg, and then we found out that he had bone cancer. And we sort of kept him comfortable and gave him painkillers for several weeks, but after a couple of weeks he injured his leg even worse than it was before, and there's really no coming back from it because the cancer had eaten away all the bones. So unfortunately we lost our dog as a result of that. Or second week of August, I believe. That was not great, to say the least. That was not an easy thing to ever do. To have to make a decision when your dog is suffering and the quality of life is never going to be there again. And the hardest part about the whole thing, I think, was really that he was still relatively a young dog. He was only 7, so he still should have had another 3, 4, 5 years in him. And cancer is cruel. It does not discriminate. It does not discriminate based on age or any other factors. It can and will hit anyone and anybody, and it's not easy to deal with. So unfortunately we had a little bit of a tough run in August, even in July, because we kind of found out he originally shattered his leg. I think it was the first week of July, and basically the vet told us it's never going to heal, and so we ended up putting his leg in a splint, and it did make him comfortable for quite a few more weeks. He had some painkillers so that he kind of continued to at least somewhat be active, but he really was not active the way he likes to be active. He was not able to run. He was not able to kind of do those things he enjoyed. He was able to kind of hobble around a little bit, and that was about it. So it was a bit rough, to say the least. What a great way to lead off the stream, but yeah, it was a tough go for a little while there. Just trying to find something here, if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, so there. Anyways, there is a picture of said dog. If I can get that on there without too much glare on it. Anyways, there's a picture of said dog. Hopefully he's running around somewhere in heaven now. Alright, I'm going to stop talking about that because that's going to make me sad. Oh, he was a good dog. But that certainly kind of put a little bit of a dent on August. And it kind of put a dent on the whole summer. It kind of really, it was so unexpected too, because everything was kind of fine going into July, and then we found out that he had cancer, and sort of had to take it from there. So yeah, it was it definitely put a little bit of a damper on our vacation plans, on some of our other plans for summer, but we did manage to get quite a few things done. For those of you that were watching and know, I did finally get my deck done. What I might do is I just might send these pictures over here, because I have tons of pictures on my phone that I can send over here. So let me just do that really quickly here. Send them over to the computer and bring them up on the browser so you guys can see them much better. Copy of these things here. So let's do that. Let's email it to my computer here. Okay, let's see if that shows up here. Because yeah, I spent so The one project that was kind of expected, and we did spend a lot of time on it, was we did spend a lot of time on our deck and our patio. So the old one fell apart, unfortunately. Let's see if I can, should be the one here. Boom. So that's what it looks like now. Our old deck was just, the railing was completely coming apart. Was just completely useless. So I just had to demolish the whole thing. A lot of the deck boards were rotting. The railing of our old deck was completely fallen off. So I basically had to tear the whole thing apart, take it right down to the ground and rebuild it, because I also found when I started examining the deck more closely, that a lot of stuff was not up to code on the deck as well. The biggest thing, and the thing that scared me the most, was the fact of how it was assembled. When the previous people had put up the deck, all they had done was they'd put up the 6 posts, which were fine. They were small. They were 4x4 posts, but 10, 15 years ago, that was sort of not unusual. But what they had done then was the main supporting beams of the deck, instead of resting on the post, all they had done was they had put one beam on either side of a post and put 2 bolts right through each post, through the 2 beams, through each post, and just bolted them together, bolted them to the post. So the whole deck was resting on these 12 bolts, 2 on each of the 6 posts. So 12 bolts were holding up the entire deck, which is completely illegal and terrible. So I had to rebuild everything from the bottom up. So now my beams are completely resting on the posts. You can't really see them because they're hidden by that plant there, but yeah, we went with composite deck boards. We went with aluminum railing. This probably took me cumulatively about 16 days. 16 days, I think, to build in total. 16 work days, so spread out in between my actual work and job and everything and all the other things I had to do, but it took me probably about 16 days of work to do this. I probably did about 75% of the work myself. 75 to 80% of the work myself. I had some help from some family members when it came to lifting the big deck boards for the frame in place, for helping to make sure everything was level, and also nailing down the support strips for the deck boards themselves. But I did a lot of the work myself as well. The whole outer perimeter board, I was screwed all that in myself. I did all the railings myself, did all the stairs myself. Came out really nice though at the end of the day. I gotta say, I am super impressed. The color, the way the composite boards look, and that's 36 climbing 37, and the railings all came out really nice. It was quite a bit more expensive. I think probably using composite deck boards and aluminum railings probably doubled the cost of the materials, but I think at the end of the day it was very worth it. This is going to be a very long lasting deck now, because the aluminum's never going to rot. It's not going to rust because it's aluminum, so the deck boards are going to last a long time as well. Spent a lot of effort doing that, so I think it turned out really well. But that was one of the reasons why I was never online, was because basically every day I was out there for like 6 to 8 hours. If I was home, I was out there, and I didn't ever want to start a sim flight, because once I start a project like this, I just focus. I just try to get it done. And the idea of coming in halfway through the day and stopping for like 45 minutes or an hour to land a flight that's been going for 3 hours, I hated that idea. I want to just get it done. So that's was kind of my goal, was to just sort of, well, was to get it done, do as much work as possible each day. So yeah, but it turned out really nice at the end of the day. It turned out really super nice. I'm very impressed. The deck boards look really nice. The railing looks really good. The stairs came out really nice. The whole thing came together really nicely. The other half of this project too was what you can see in the foreground there, which is the patio stones in front. The concrete where the stairs hit is about the only thing that is the same as it was before. Everything else of this whole thing was changed. So if you can see, there's kind of gravel here. Our patio used to come straight out from this door and just sort of go straight out, but it was kind of like a weird awkward shape where you could never put anything on this patio. So it's kind of like, why do we even have this patio? So what we did was we ended up taking the stones that were over here, and we actually made it longer along the house. So there's actually, you can't see it over here, but there's a swing. There's a patio swing over here where you can sit and kind of enjoy the backyard now. So in the next month or so, we're going to fill this in with grass. We're just waiting for the summer heat to kind of die down, and we're going to fill that in with grass completely. I also have to just patch some of the grass here, because doing all this work around the deck really kind of killed some of the spots on the grass here. But yeah, we rebuilt this whole patio. We only had these white stones originally, so we got a new border for it, so it looks a lot nicer, looks a lot more finished. We built some new stairs because the old stairs were wood. They were rotten right through. The whole thing looked nasty before. And even this little set of stones back here that supports our little cat cage there. You can't really see it too well, but there's a cat door that comes out that screen door, so the cat can actually let himself out and he can go outside whenever he wants, which the things to do for the animals in our lives. But it came out really nice in the end. And no, we're not selling it. The reason why we built that deck high quality out of high quality materials is because we plan to get a good 10, 15, 20 years of use out of it. We got 10, 15, probably 20 years of use out of it, honestly. I plan on being in this house for a long, long time, so that's why we built it high quality with really good looking materials, because we're going to keep it, we're going to use it. It's not because it's not for the other people who might potentially buy this house. We are not selling it for any reason. Anywho, yeah, been a busy summer for flight simulation as well, though, I gotta say. Tons and tons of great news. Obviously, the Fenix 320 came out a while ago, and I will say this: I did give in. I do have the Fenix 320 in my hangar now. I was going to save that as an on-stream surprise at some point, but I haven't really had the chance yet. So, yeah, that is one really good piece of news. I mean, that was more before summer. That was spring, really came out. But I splurged on it. I decided it was going to be worth it, and I like it. But I do find it is a performance hog. It is really the FS Labs equivalent for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I find it's the one airplane that I really have a bit of a tough time running. It's just so processor intensive that I have a hard time running it on my computer. It really kind of drags it down. It's okay kind of up in cruise, but after an hour or two of flying, you go to land at a busy, detailed airport, and it just drags the computer's performance way down to the point where I can't even deal with it. So I really, really like it, and I want to really like it, and it is a good model, but it's very performance heavy to the point where I don't think I'm ever going to be able to stream with it at this point, not until I at least upgrade some of my computer processing, because it just, yeah, tell that to my 1080. Yeah, I have a 1060. And it is, yeah, it's dragging to its knees sometimes. My one option might be to really turn down the sim settings, but I find it's the fact that so much of the processing for the Fenix is being done externally to the sim. But the trouble with Microsoft Flight Simulator is it really does kind of look at your computer and say, what's the maximum amount of resources I can use? And it really tries to do the best it can with all the resources in the system, and it doesn't consider that other programs might be trying to run in parallel to it. That I find is the flaw of Microsoft Flight Simulator. It looks at the computer and says, okay, I'm going to take this whole computer and I'm going to do some really good scenery and graphics with the whole computer, and it doesn't consider the fact that other things are going to be running. So when the Fenix is running, and when it's running, like its processing is using 10 to 15% of the processing power of your computer just to process itself on the external side, the external programs, the drawing the screens and the electronic flight displays, and also the flight modeling, and all that's running external to Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's a good 10 to 15% of I find it's at least 10, and most of the time 15% of the processor power being used by the computer. But Microsoft doesn't leave 15% unused. It also wants to use 90 to 95% of your computer's processing power. So then I start to end up with big conflicts where I find it's the interrupts. It's the processor kind of deciding which thread's going to get priority that tends to start to slow down and starts to stutter the sim. It's not even that it slows the sim down; it's that it starts to stutter it constantly. It's a beautiful airplane, and it's great to fly, and it's great to see that it works exactly the way it should. But I feel like you need it's like FS Labs. You need a powerful computer to run it, or it's just not going to run. And it's unfortunate because I really want to use it, but I don't think I can stream with it. I honestly don't. I may give it a try one of these days, but it's such a resource hog that you know, you throw streaming on top of that. You throw trying to process, you know, trying to process video and send and shoot video out through the internet at the same time that you're trying to run the Fenix external software and the simulator and everything else. And it just, I'm skeptical that I'm going to be able to get enough performance to make my streaming look decent. So I don't think I'm going to be able to stream that airplane, which is unfortunate because it really is a good airplane. I would like to. But the other, let's see, what else is released though. But then, of course, PMDG has slowly marched on with their airplanes as well. So the 600 came out, and then this week the 800 came out, and that is also definitely on my radar. The 800 variant is probably the most common variant of the 737 out there. Southwest, I think, operates like almost 1,000 of them. It's like a ridiculous number. But yeah, the 800 variant was released this week, and that is one that definitely I would like to operate. I think that's, again, it's the most common variant. It's the 900 is actually a very uncommon variant unless you consider the extended range version of the 900, which I'm assuming that PMDG is going to release. And then quite a few airlines got the extended range version, but the 800 is by far the most popular. So if you want to have the ability to fly the 800, or if you want to have the ability to fly the 737 for the maximum number of airlines without sort of doing like I'm doing here, like, this technically does not exist. This is a 737-700 in American Airlines colors. American Airlines never operated a 737-700 series. They only ever operated the 800, I think they operated the 900, but they never operated the 700 series, so this doesn't actually exist. That being said, of course, like so many people, I had to have the PMDG 737 as soon as it came out. I just had to. So I did. So I splurged for the 737-700 model. And I'm willing to kind of make that sort of a little bit of stretching reality, where we operate the 700 in colors that never meant to operate in. The 800 is just a little bit longer, so it's pretty similar, and I still try to operate it as realistically as possible, but we are stretching the imagination a little bit here. I will be definitely adding the 800 to my hangar. It's just a matter of saving up a little bit of money. I still have some of my credit left, so it's $40 US is all it's going to cost me. I have to say, I think PMDG was pretty strategic with their pricing. I was very impressed to see that they dropped the price of the 600 down to, I think it was $35 US, which is like half price. And I imagine they did that because they feel like it's not going to be a popular variant. Again, the 600 was not a popular variant. It's very, very small as far as the 737s went. And of course, when it comes to making money with an airliner, the number one thing is how many people can we get in the airplane. The more people we can get in the airplane, the more sales we can make. So, or the more revenue we can generate as an airline. So, the 600 did not do well sales-wise. I mean, it sold an okay number, but it definitely did nothing compared to what the 800 or even the 700 sold. So, I think PMDG kind of went with that. It was nice to see that they took that pricing strategy, though, just because otherwise I think they would sell very few. If they tried to sell the 600 series as well for $70, I think they would sell almost no copies. I really do. If you look at it and say $70 per variant, that's $280 US if you wanted to have all four variants, if you charge $70 for each variant. So I think it's a little over the top, and I think that the only way they were ever going to sell more than like a dozen copies of the 600 was by dropping it to half price. I wonder if they're going to take a similar tack with the 900. The only appeal the 900 has is it's got the extended range version. So people who want to do 737 flights but really want to do like a long haul, like oceanic flight in the 737, maybe they'll splurge for the 900 ER. But I feel like they're, again, not going to be able to charge $70 for it. I think they're going to get away with it with the 800 because I think the 800 is going to be a very popular variant. What do you got there? ATIS. Thank you, Alpha. 35, 10 miles, scattered 25. You're better than ACAR system here because I don't even have to prompt you. Oh, we got ATC. 3365. Nice. Saturday morning, ATC. Just cruising along. Useless here. Memphis Center, very good morning. American 261, flight level 370.
Good morning, American 261, Memphis Center, squawk 1504.
Squawking 1504, American 261. 1504 on the transponder. Nice. Got some ATC. Hooray for VATSIM. You never know when you're going to get ATC in VATSIM. You just never know.
American 261 radar contact flight of the 370 about 6 miles southwest of the Razorback VOR. Continue as well.
Altitude position checks. Thanks, American 261. Alright, visual approach 11 in use, departing runway 12 left. So hey, setting up for 11 was the right move here. Good stuff.
Southwest 4576, welcome
Let's
back.
have a little look-see here, progress. 15:39, so we're going to be there in about 40 minutes, so we're not doing too bad.
Good morning,
Not doing too bad
Delta
at all.
222, Memphis Center, squawk 1505.
1505.
Yeah, I definitely will add the 737-800 to my hangar. I don't think I'm going to add the 900 series, so I kind of budgeted for myself to add 2 PMDG airplanes. Two variants of 737, so the 700, first one out, I really ran with that. And then the
75 miles southwest of the Razorback VOR, continue as well.
Thank you.
And then the 800 series, again, just because it's the most popular. So those are the two I'm planning to go with. I'm definitely not going to get the 600. It's just too small. It's too insignificant, if that's the right way to phrase it. There's just not enough operators using it to make it really worth adding to my hangar. The 900, it was kind of a toss-up between the 8 and the 900. I'm just going to go with the 800 because it's the most popular.
4401 radio check.
Southwest 4401, Memphis Center, good morning, loud and clear. How about me?
We hear you by that 5.
Man, what else? What else? It's been a good summer.
Southwest 4401, ready for your clearance?
Affirmative, we're ready for our clearance.
It's been a good summer for flight simulation, though. For anyone that enjoys flight simulation, there's been some good aircraft released. There's been some good announcements. I gotta say, I'm pretty stoked about the next airport update, or the next world update, I should say, because, as you guys probably have already read, World Update 11 will be Canada! Hooray! And I was thinking that to myself a couple of updates ago. It's like, really, we're revisiting the U.S. again? Like, there's dozens of countries around the world that have spectacular scenery that needs some love, and Canada's up there. It's a huge country. There's some absolutely spectacular scenery, and there's a fairly decent simming population. It's a middle class. It's definitely a wealthier country. So there's a lot of people. There's a large middle class. Lots of flight simmers out there in Canada.
Push and start our discretion. Expected 36 left. Southwest 44.
And again, just so much beautiful scenery. So many beautiful, distinctive airports. They have such a chance. I'm curious. I don't even want to venture a guess as to what airports might become bespoke airports now in Canada. I couldn't even venture a guess, because they usually pick like one sort of like mid-tier airport, and then they usually pick like a couple of really kind of smaller, obscure airports. So Orbex has done a very nice Perry Sound airport, but that would be the sort of thing where I would expect, or like an Nanaimo or something like that. Of course, these are airports that have already sort of been done, but maybe an East Coast airport like a St. John's or a Halifax or something like that. I just can't even think. Or maybe Saint Hubert and do like a detailed copy of Montreal. Maybe they'll do Simcoe for me. I don't know. There are there's tons of kind of smaller, kind of mid-tier Canadian airports that are kind of unique and interesting. Maybe they might do something like a Castlegar with the fantastic approaches in the Rocky Mountains in BC or something like that. I'm just trying to I couldn't even begin to speculate. I'm really kind of curious, and I wonder what could be.
Delta 222, state your current Mach number.
We're about Mach 0.78.
Delta 222, reduce speed Mach 0.75. Traffic about 20 miles ahead. Same destination. Mach 0.75.
Sorry.
We'll bring it way down to Mach 7.5. And do we plan that for the rest of the trip, do you think?
Rest of your trip, affirmative.
I got Mach 7.8 going on here right now, 7.86. So I don't know why he's got you slowing down so much, but targeting 7.9. I'm not slow. I'm doing 7.9. Maybe it's the wind. I'm grounding 457. Maybe it's the wind difference and the altitude difference. What altitude are you at? Let's have a quick look at VATSIM here. Sneaky. We're just cutting through just the corner of his airspace here too. You're up at 37,002. Yeah, you're grounding 454. I'm grounding 457. Yeah. Must be making him uncomfortable. Yeah, I think he overcompensated, honestly, and especially for 20 miles already in trail. I think he's just being a little cautious, especially because there's no further ATC to maintain the spacing afterwards. So I think he's being overly cautious, but that's fine. You know what? Hey, let's do something. This is the way the real world functions sometimes, you know. I'm happy to have ATC. I'm happy to follow their instructions. All right, so like you said, I'm seeing top of drop up there in about 100 miles. So let's start looking at our information here. And first thing I'm going to try and do, if I can find it, is I'm going to try and pull up. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to pull that right up in front of a screen like that. I'm just going to try and look at my recent documents here because I want to see if I can pull up. Nope, it's not in the recent files. Nope, haven't opened it recently enough. I was just trying to find the landing data, so I want to just make sure, see what our landing distance is going to be when we get to manuals QRH. That's what I'm looking for. Oh, for frack's sake. Stop doing that. I told you to open up the PDFs in the other viewer. My God. Sometimes Windows, you're absolutely useless. There. Okay. No, that's not right. That's what I'm looking for. Alright, we're looking for landing distances here. Pre-cooling schedule. Long range diversion, performance in flight. Takeoff speeds. But I want it in not metric units. Why is it only in metrics? Yeah. I also see it says 900. 737 700 if I can find it. 800. 700, come on. It's got to be here somewhere. I really got to bookmark this page. Alright, 737 700. Performance in flight.
American 261, you're leaving my airspace to the north. Kansas City Sun is offline. Radar services terminated. Switch to Unicom. Enjoy the rest of your flight. Bye-bye.
All right, back to the Unicom. Thank you very much for the service this morning. We'll talk to you next time, American 261. Maybe we'll talk to him on the way back. So I have takeoff. Where is my landing distance? Non-normal. Normal landing configuration distance. That's the one. PI 32.1. There's a lot of takeoff data in here. Long Change cruise, advisory information. There we are. That's what I'm looking for. Flaps 30, dry runway. Let's see here. If I do auto brake 2, see it's still in metric.
Delta 222, you are leaving my airspace to the north. Kansas City Center is offline. Radar service is terminated. Switch to Unicom. Enjoy the rest of the flight and be advised. You have traffic at your 12 o'clock, about 20 miles. It's a Boeing 737 American Airlines. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks for the traffic point out. We've got him on TCAS. We'll maintain the Mach 75 there. Thank you for your ATC, and more over to Unicom. Thanks for coming on this morning. Have a great day.
Only ever in kilograms. There's got to be a... Hi. You know what? I'm losing all patience with that.
Attention all aircraft on frequency, Memphis International Airport. ATIS information. Charlie is now current.
Alright, back to the Unicom. Let's pull up our arrival and just see what the information is here for St. Louis. Alright, what are we on? The Kayla arrival, I believe, right? Springfield, yeah. Kayla 3 arrival. And they're advertising visual to runway 11, so we'll plan on an ILS from 11. Or visual backed up by the ILS, I should say. 11 is 9,000 feet. Realistically, that should be good enough anyways, especially if we do break 2 or 3. I'll take one more look at it a little later, but I'm trying to find the imperial units, not the metric units, and I can't seem to find them, so. Alright, let's just make sure we got everything we need in here. So, let's see here. Just have speed restrictions. So for 11, it's Denise, Albert, Stan at 7,000. It's all in there. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and set ourselves up for a flap 30 landing here. If we do the ILS, minimums are Cat 1 818. Just pop that out of the way for a second there. Oops, too far. There we go, 818. Beauty. And just say the altimeter was 3003. 25 degrees. So we'll set that so it's ready to go. Okay, 3003 is ready in the standby. And I think we're ready for an approach briefing. Actually, no, because I forget I'm in the 737. There's no auto tuning. I got to make sure I get this stuff tuned in here. 111.95 and 123. I'm so used to auto tune. I love auto tune. But this is a 737. There is no auto tuning here. $111.95. There we go. 123's the course. Alright. Now I think we're ready for the arrival briefing. Alright, so the speeds are in. If we get a chance again later, we'll check the distance one more time and see if we can't figure it out, because it's a little bit... yeah, we did ask for this, exactly. A little bit much, but a little bit frustrating to kind of try and find it there in the imperial units. I keep finding it in the metric units, and I'm trying to find it in the imperial units because we're in America here. We fly everything in imperial, so. Alright, today we're doing the Kayla 3 RNAV arrival into St. Louis. It's on page 10-2 Bravo and effective on the 16th of July of 2020. Bold notes says DDI or GPS required, radar required, RNAV 1, and number 4 says turbojets only. Alright, so we're starting off at Springfield, which we're going to pass very soon here. After Springfield, we go to Gannon, Jeksav at 280 knots below 310. Zulmo at 280 knots below 230. Kayla above 11,000. Big Mac. Denise between 9 and 10,000. Albert between 9 and 8,000, max 240 knots. And Stan, or sorry, min 240 knots. And Stan, min 240 knots at 7,000. And after that, we do a vector off to, we continue on that heading until we get onto the ILS to runway 11. Alright, so, let's see, where does it start here? It has Hicksob in there. It doesn't have anything before Hicksob, because I didn't do the SISD transition. I might just do that. So yeah, let's add the SISD transition. We had the, we just have the transition SISD, so let's just add that. Alright, so the ILS, the visual to runway 11, backed up by the ILS page 11-2 and effective on the 26th of March of 2020. So the loc 111.95 and the inbound course 123 again. 111.95, set both sides. 123, set both sides. Unable 280 knots at JXAV. Alright, we'll check into that in a second here. The glide slope at Jexar is 2,500 and the ILSDA of 818. I did set 818 Barrow. It's official approach anyways. Touchdown zone at 618. So I do need to adjust this. I swear I adjusted that to 1,000. 600 feet set for the landing elevation. The MSA is highest south of the St. Louis, south of the FZ outer marker. I don't even know where the FZ outer marker is. It's, oh, here it is, E. So it's somewhere over under here, underneath this insert here. So anyways, south of the field is 3,100. That's the highest one we've got. Missed approach is to climb to 1,060, then on climbing right turn to 3,000 feet on a heading of 130, outbound on the FTZ VOR. 095 radial to the Moods intersection and hold at 3,000. DMU radar required. Radar required for procedure entry. Disregard the outer marker signal associated with ILS 12 right. VGS ILS glide path not coincident. Simultaneous approach is authorized with 12 right and left. And we've got ALS of 2 Pappies on the right. It's RVRT under a half mile. It's a beautiful day. It's VMC, so it shouldn't be a problem at all. Landing on runway 11. We take a convenient left turn off high speed Alpha 3, Alpha 2, something like that. We're going to taxi. I honestly don't know how it's normally done here, so I'm going to say we're probably going to taxi Alpha Sierra across the threshold of 6 around Charlie to get to our gate. Speaking of gates, let's have a quick look here. And the flight I chose to look at, arriving at gate Charlie 6. So let's pull up the parking gates here as well. Charlie 6. Where's Charlie 6? Okay. So on the second part of the terminal here, so we'll go Charlie, and then we go past the little middle concourse, and then Charlie 6 right there is where we're parking. Terrain again around St. Louis is 3,100. Weather's beautiful, no real weather concerns. Operational, no MELs on the aircraft. NOTAMs, let's have a look at that because we wouldn't be professionals if we didn't look up our NOTAMs. Victor, go to Sierra between Charlie and Sierra 1 east side. Regular, that's fine. 11 threshold markings, not standard. Just trying to look for these taxiways that I was going to taxi on taxi with Charlie between approach end of 12 right and Victor closed. Where was that? I believe we were taxiing on Charlie. Let's just make sure. Nice we don't have to taxi back to 11. Yeah, I know, exactly. Victor and 12 right. So this right here is closed, but we can just do the departure from Victor by the looks of it when we depart again. Anything else? Let's see, anything else along our taxi route, runways. 12 right, 30 left, closed. You know, one thing I'm realizing as I read these NOTAMs is there's never a time on these. Times are kind of important. ILS or local runway 11. Alternate minimum is not applicable. Okay, that's fine. We're not using it as an alternate. Minus 11 Cat 2s. We're not doing the Cat 2. All right, and that's it. No, I think we're good. Yeah, so that's everything is worked out there. The only thing I didn't work out is I still didn't work out the landing distance because I was trying to do it in metric units or in imperial units, and I cannot seem to find the bloody imperial units here. Performance, dispatch, performance in flight. If you were dealing with a real aircraft, you'd at least have tabs, and you probably would only have the units that would affect your aircraft. They wouldn't print out all the units, but this PMDG manual from before has everything. It has the 600, 700, 800, 900 variant that has all their performance data. Corrected field length in meters. I don't want it in meters. I want it in imperial units. Aha. I found it in the performance dispatch section. I found imperial units in the performance dispatch section, but I don't want dispatch, I want in-flight. We need to know what the actual, not the planning stuff we're going to use is. Performance dispatch for various aircraft. Performance dispatch. The first half of the manual is just dispatch performance. The difference between dispatch performance is it's all kind of regulatory. It's kind of like, this is the worst case scenario, this is what you're going to get. Performance in flight. I got the 600 here. Kilograms. I can't seem to find the... I swear I had imperial units in here. I swear I've used them before. I cannot seem to find them. Performance in flight 600. Maybe this is the imperial units now. Yes. Okay. So that's for the... Oh, no, this is for the 700. Hooray, I found what I'm looking for. Oh my god. Why is this manual so long? Why is it 1,035 pages? So much information in here. Okay. So let's just have a quick look here. And while we're at it, we're just going to need to know, for sake of argument, our gross weight for the approach is estimated to be 131.4. So 131, so slippery runway, takeoff performance, cruise performance, advisory information. Here we are. Flap 30, dry runway. Let's do auto brake 2, it's going to be 6,100 feet. And then, yeah, I mean, 6,200, maybe 100 more. 6,300, 6,500, no wind compensation, I'm not going to worry about slope, 6,500, temperature above ice, 6,700. 67, yeah, maybe we should do auto brake 3. Okay, so we'll do 4,800 plus 4,900 5100, yeah. We'll do auto brake 3. That seems to be a better plan. Did we miss my top of descent there? I did. While I was messing around with that, that's okay. We can start it down now. There it goes. And we're just going to descend via, so we're going to go all the way down to 7,000. Alright, descending via the arrival, 7,000 feet. We did miss our top descent point. We're now 2,000 feet high, but maybe if we pick up the speed a little bit here. Slowly pitching down. But we're quite a bit above it, so it's going to need to pitch down quite a bit to catch it here. There. It is catching it though now. Actually catching it quite substantially here. So I think we're going to be okay. We kind of missed the top of the descent point there because I was still doing the takeoff, or the descent, the approach calculation. But I think we're good now. So there we go. Alright, Squibbly, you still behind me there? You gotta come all the way back with me as well. For anybody that's watching that wants to, we're gonna land in St. Louis in about 15 minutes here. We're gonna turn around, we're gonna fly back to DFW, so if anyone wants to join us for that return leg as well, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do a quick turn here once we get to St. Louis here. We're gonna land in, let's see here, 15:39. Yeah, we're gonna land in about, I'm gonna also do a speed intervention here and speed us up to 280 because it wants 280 past these fixes for now. But yeah, hopefully we can get turned around. We land at 15:30. We're on the gate about 15. We'll try to be off the gate again by 12:15. That's my target, is to do about do a 30-minute or less turn. I'm probably gonna take a little bathroom break, refresh my coffee, grab a quick bite to eat, as well as reset everything, just to make sure, because you know you kind of have to do these things when you're flying, especially if you're flying shorter legs. You kind of take the bathroom breaks when you can get them, and I prefer personally to take them on the ground. It's just less hassle than trying to get out of the flight deck in flight. As much as possible, I always try to take a bathroom break almost every time the airplane stops. Alright, we're getting on slope here. We got less than 500 feet we're less than 500 feet off slope, so we're good. It was a little bit late start of the descent, but we got it done just in the nick of time. It's okay. So, anybody else going to St. Louis today, or are we the only ones? There's actually was a departure. We might pass it. There was a departure from St. Louis, heading down to Springfield. In a, I don't even know what a K100 is. Is that a Kodiak? Could be a Kodiak. Alright. So we're heading down. I hope the sound volume's okay. I hope the balance is okay. I hope my voice is coming over the sound of the airplane high enough. Please let me know if it's not. I have a hard time sometimes determining that as we're going, and then of course the next time I go, when I go to sort of try and publish the video and I listen to it, I'm like, oh, the sound balance is so far off. Let me just check here really quickly. Set 7,000 and it's blue, it's not magenta. I do not know off the top of my hand. I am not an Airbus. I'm not an Airbus guy. I do understand, I do kind of understand it on its most basic level, but if it's not working the way it's supposed to, I'm definitely not the guy to ask. Did you try it? No. Did you try? Did you try turning it off and on again? Did you try pulling it back into open descent and then put it back in managed mode and see if that resets it even once? That's just about my only thought, really, honestly. I am not an Airbus guy. I don't know the Airbus well at all, so I'm sorry. I wish I could help. I mean, these airplanes, it's like it's crazy how complicated the systems are in some of these airplanes. You know, like the manual for the FMS itself sometimes is 1,000 pages. I'm just going to try and find it here. But let me just find the manual for the Honeywell FMC. But I think it is on the order of 1,000 pages. 829 pages is the manual just for the FMC for our aircraft. So it didn't auto-generate the ILS frequency. Something's off. Yeah. Are you now? Are you using the fly-by-wire? Or are you using the Fenix? Name escaped me for a second there. Because the fly-by-wire doesn't surprise me when things don't go according to plan. The Fenix, though, has been a pretty reliable airplane. You are using the Fenix. I kind of guessed you were. That's my first question, though, is are you using the Fenix? Because if it's a fly-by-wire, I take nothing for granted in that thing. Nothing ever works the way it's supposed to in that thing. Wow. Didn't auto-generate the frequency. Is the arrival airport listed in there correctly? Like, I'm just, you know, without looking at your FMC, I'm just kind of spitballing some ideas, but that would be the sort of thing I would check is the arrival airport in there correctly? I might even try resetting the whole arrival again. Unable 280 knots at Solmo. Thank you. And it's drifting a little bit low here on the path, and I'm not sure why. It's sort of drifted low and it's not picking it back up again. It's kind of just in an idle descent at this point, which is fine. But it's just starting to drift low on the path, so I'm not sure what that's going to mean in the long run, if it's going to, when it's going to kind of trigger out of that. Ah, well. I guess we should do a descent checklist at some point. We probably should tell the cabin crew that we are going down now. They will appreciate that. Descent checklist. Pressurization. Landing altitude is 600. Recall. Checked. Auto brake. Level 3. Landing data. VREF 135. Minimums 818. And approach briefing is complete. Descent checklist complete. Alright, that wasn't too bad though. A flight, it's a nice length. That's a good stage length where it's like you're in cruise for a little while, you can chat for a little while, but it's not a slog. A lot of these ones I've done have been slogs, like, oh my god, that New York to JFK, what a flight that was. It was fun, but boy, was that a long flight. Alright, it's a tiny bit early, but let's transition. Set 3003. 3003 inches set cross-checked and passing 184. Yeah, pretty close. Alright. Getting down there pretty quickly now. Somewhere just up ahead is St. Louis there. Haven't even spent much time looking out the window today. And it's funny because like the reason I fly the sim is because it looks so beautiful out the window, but I'm almost starting to take it for granted at this point. It's such a I'm just so used to it, and I'm also just focused on what I'm doing here because it's been so long since I've flown this airplane, so long since I've flown anything really. I tried to do 2 flights this week. My sim unfortunately did not complete my first flight. I don't want to use the C word because I don't want to jinx it, but it didn't complete the first flight, but I did manage to complete the second flight, but it was a little bit of a sketchy landing. Mostly because we didn't spot the runway till minimum, so I really should have done a go around, but I kind of really wanted to pull it out and get it done. So it was a bit of a sketch landing. Used up most of the runway because we were a little bit hot and high, so we ended up touching down well down the runway. It was not my finest performance. But yeah, other than that, I really have not used my sim this summer. It's been just so busy. Obviously with personal issues and with you know, the deck construction, and it was good fun, and I'm glad I got it done, and it looks really nice. Don't ever want to have to rebuild it again. It was a lot of work, and it was a hot summer to be working outside all summer. It just absolutely gushing sweat some days. It was so hot. It's been a good summer like that, though, in terms of just it's been a very what am I trying to say here? It's been just so much nice weather. Like, the trouble is very little rain. We had finally got some rain this week, and it was very much needed. But it's been so much hot weather. It was great for trying to do outdoor work because almost every day there was only like I think 2 days where my work got stopped because of the rain. Out of like those 16 days that I had allocated. There was a couple days where we just worked through the rain anyways. I'm going to put it to level change, and then I'm going to put it back into VNav. That should trigger the speed. And hopefully this will trigger it to go back on path, because it's low on the path and it doesn't seem to want to recover, although now it seems like it's going to recover. Now it seems like it's, now that I no longer have speed intervention, it's picked up and it's going to just follow the path now. That was the one day we were putting the deck boards on and they're just hammering them on, and we were just hammering them the old-fashioned way. I don't have a pneumatic nailer, so we're just literally hammering the deck attachments on the old-fashioned way. And it started raining on us, and we're like, this is wonderful, because it was such hot work. You're like, yes, bring on the rain. So I did enjoy that, but yeah, overall it was a very nice summer. Very hot most of the time. Not a bad summer at all. Enjoying some external screenshots here. We're gonna have something for our title card soon. Alright, but we really should be focused on what we're doing here. We are getting down to 10,000 feet here in a moment. She's starting to slow up for the next restriction. It's going to be 240 at Albert, so we're going to get 250 at 10,000. So she should be slowing for that momentarily here. Little right turn here for a moment, and then back to the left. So that's got to be the Mississippi River. St. Louis is like at the confluence of the two rivers. So somewhere over here, I think this is St. Louis up here. So the airport, I believe, is on the northwest side of town. Not in a particularly nice neighborhood from what I've heard. I had a friend who had to do sim training out there. So I was there for like 2 weeks. It's like, yeah, it's out near the airport is not a particularly nice neighborhood. Which is the trouble with these airports. So often you're stuck at these airport hotels. When you're in this business, you're stuck at these airport hotels, and there's nothing near the airport. If you don't have an automobile, there's no way to get anything near the airport. So you're either relying on food delivery services, you know, ridiculously expensive hotel restaurants, or that's basically it. Like those are your two options. You're not hoofing it anywhere usually. Most of these airport hotels are along the side of the highway. There is no way to get anywhere anyways. Alright, there's 10,000, so let's get lights. Alright, lights are on. And approach checklist. Altimeters. 3003 set. Cross-checked. Approach checklist complete. That was easy. Alright, so we're going to cross stand at 7,000. We're just going to drop like a rock from there and set ourselves up. Just continue on that heading until we are set up for the official approach. There we go. Try and, like I said, keep focused. I'm a little bit rusty on flying the 737 just because I have not done it this summer. I did it so much when it first came out, and then summer just erupted into craziness. It wasn't just deck construction, it was also just holidaying and trying to get things done. We had a really wonderful get-together this summer with some of our oldest friends. Hadn't seen since pre-COVID. Tough to get together with people, you know, sometimes even without considering COVID. Sometimes when you get to a certain age, it just gets tough. Everyone has got their own lives. They've got their own things they're doing, and trying to find the time that everyone has off in common is almost impossible. So it can be very tough sometimes to try and find this time. So it's wonderful. We had one of our friends came over from England. He lives in England now, and he came back. Actually, it was a little unfortunate. He came back for a celebration of life for his father, who passed away like 2 years ago, but was not really able to have any kind of a proper life celebration because of COVID restrictions. So they sort of they had a very small family affair, but then they decided to they decided at some point that they were going to do this, because I have to say, like, his father was one of the was just always such a jovial person and such a happy, kind of go lucky person. All right, I'm gonna set 3,000. And just knew so many people. He was friend, he was one of those guys that's like, he always just had have teenagers hanging out in his basement and wouldn't care. He's just like, hey guys, how's it going? Never too concerned about a whole gaggle of teenagers hanging out in his basement. Better that, I guess, you know where they are than not. But yeah, it just. But he was just such a friendly guy. He had probably hundreds and hundreds of friends. So like, I remember when they had his daughter's wedding, and just how big it was. We got invited to that, just how big it was. So it's kind of nice to see all that. So it was a real shame. It's very sad that he passed away during COVID, and was not able to people were not really able to celebrate his life, come together and celebrate his life. But so he came over from England to do that. But it was kind of nice because it was just kind of the impetus that we all needed. It's like, yeah, let's have a nice big get together and have all of our friends, kind of meet in one place, have a barbecue, just hang out and reconnect like we haven't reconnected since well before COVID. So it was a really kind of a nice excuse at the end of the day to do it. All right, we're just trying to maintain the present heading, hustling down to 3,000 feet. Speed 230.
St. Louis traffic, Delta 222s through 8,000 for 3,500, finding the ILS 11.
I feel like we might almost be too far out to get around. No, I think we are getting the localizer and the glide slope. Oh, there it is. Yep, it did lock. Okay, good, perfect. So loc heading 1, 2, 3. Get the speed back a little more. St. Louis traffic, American 261's joining a 17-mile final runway 11. Alright, and then let's just activate Zovin direct. It doesn't matter because we're just we're on the loc anyways. We're no longer in RNAV mode, LNAV mode. Where is this airport? Am I blind or what's going on here? I don't even see it yet. It's still a fair way out there. Is that it? Oh, that's it there, I think. That kind of hazy patch there. Alright. We will accept the visual approach now. Alright, flaps 1. There we go. I was going to say the glide slope was not armed for some reason. That was weird. But glide slope's now armed. Alright, glide slope's alive. Speed 190. Let's go ahead, flaps 5. Yeah, I can see the airport out there now. Glide slope intercept any moment here. Go ahead, let's keep slowing down to speed 180. Managed to avoid using the speed brake at all today, which is a good indicator. Alright, altitude acquire for 3,000. Almost done an idle descent all the way down. It's actually been really, really good. Really almost perfectly optimal here. All of a sudden she's going to shoot some power in for a couple seconds to keep the speed, and in another couple seconds she's going to have the glide slope. Glide slope Go around altitude set.
Radio altimeter.
Thank you, airplane. Alright, speed 160. Let's go gear down. And flaps 15. I believe that's 15 there, yeah, that looks like 15. JXAB 2500, the go around altitude is set. Flaps 25. Flaps 30. Alright, VAP is set. And landing checklist. Engine start switches are continuous. Speed brake is armed. Landing gear is down for green, and the flaps, we've got flaps 30, green light. The approach checklist, the landing checklist is complete. Runway's in sight. St. Louis traffic, American 261, 3 miles final, runway 11. Alright, I'm clearing myself to land here. Taxi lights on. Alright, are we ready to do this?
Delta 222 is on a 10-mile final runway.
Ready to hand fly this approach here. I will try not to dilly-dally too much on the runway. Alright, visual. Disengage in the autopilot. Let's see if I can hand fly this thing still here. I'll tell you this, you didn't have it trimmed, Mr. Airplane. You were not well trimmed. When I disengage the autopilot, you shouldn't move. You should just stay there.
Approaching minimums.
Check. We're a little bit low here. Don't want to overdo it.
2 minimums.
Landing.
$100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
A little bit, whoa, whoa, where are we going here? Whoa, that was a little bit of a bounce there. And I didn't let the auto brake do its thing because I'm so used to not having auto brake on me. Got a little bit of reverse thrust in there, but wow, she really bounced on that one. Alright, we'll take the high speed over here. That was definitely not my best landing.
Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and your baggage stowed until the seatbelt sign has been turned off. Smoking is not permitted. Mobile receiving and transmitting functions may now
I am very out of practice with my simulator here.
Please check to ensure you have all your electronic devices. If you have a connecting flight, please refer to the screens inside the terminal or consult with one of our colleagues on the ground. Thank you for choosing Air
St. Louis traffic, American 261, clear runway 11.
We hope you've had a pleasant flight and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you and good morning.
St. Louis traffic, Delta 222 short final, runway 11.
Alright, I believe we got everything set up in the after landing. Oh, I didn't have it disabled notices. One thing I forgot. Knew there was one thing I was missing. That was definitely not the best landing I ever did. Oh, she's very jumpy now. There you are. Alright. Crossing runway 6, put the strobes back on. Trouble with track IR especially too is you can look so quickly in the other direction that you can easily exceed what's been cached and loaded in your sim. I am supposed to start a timer too when I land. Start it now, it's fine. It's supposed to be 3 minutes at idle before we get to the gate. At or close to idle. Just to allow the temperatures in the engine to kind of cool down and stabilize a little bit. It's supposed to start it right after you turn off the runway, but I'm not very good with my after landing flow in this aircraft. Alright, we're clear of the runway. Strobes off. There you are, squibbly, right behind me there. Hopefully you did a nicer landing than I did. It was pretty good, and then I just yanked just a little bit too hard. And there's just no feedback in these yokes. That's my complaint. There's absolutely zero feedback in these yokes, so you kind of just pull just a tiny little bit, and all of a sudden it's just yanking it upwards.
St. Louis traffic, Delta 222 is clear, runway 11, and we'll follow the traffic into the gate.
All right. Gate Charlie 6 we're looking for, so probably just beyond the control tower. I think the control tower is right in the middle of the terminal, so just past the control tower. Like I said, good thing we don't have to go all the way to the end of runway 11 for departure. 12 right, I believe it is for departure, so that'll be a relatively quick taxi out. Kind of quiet here today too, there's not too many people here. It is a Saturday. VATSIM on a Saturday. I mean, Saturday shouldn't be too bad, but it's more that it's early in the day, I think, than anything. No, don't crash the desktop. Ah! Dang, Fenix. Don't say it, don't say it. I have to at least make it to the gate. Log at least one leg. Oh, that is frustrating. I mean, at least you landed. Probably the one thing worse is like when you're on final approach and it crashes and you're just like, why? I'm so close to the end and I just want it to just work. I want to just get me to the gate. Just even to land, you get a certain sense of satisfaction when you get to that part. You got a good landing. Yeah. See? Did better than me at least. Because I've had that a couple times where it's just like you're on approach and it crashes and you're like, oh, I'm so close to finishing. I'm almost okay with it crashing on the taxi in. No, don't say that. Don't say that because it'll do it now. But you know what I mean? Like at least the landing is kind of the part that you're really kind of setting up for and focusing in on. You really want it to do well. Wow. It's a busy little airport. Lots of scenery details here. Hopefully once we shut down, the frame rate will pick up a little bit again here. Alright, let's start that APU. Yeah, we got 3 minutes. Charlie 6 should be right over there. One of those two gates over there. Like it says 6 right there, so gonna go that way. I'm gonna say we have the marshaller in sight, so we go ahead and shut the taxi light off. There you go, the APU is firing. There's 6 there, right? Yeah, that's 6 right there. Oh, there is a yellow line here to lead us in. Some places they don't have like a yellow line up the middle of the apron, they just you just park where you like. Now it gets pretty close to the wing, doesn't it? Come on. Take me in again. Thank you. Ah. Okay, parking brake staying on. Seatbelts off. Engines off. Fuel pumps heat. Auto anti-collision off. And let's do the shutdown checklist. Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps are off. Probe heat is... Oh, forgot the hydraulics. Probe heat's off. Hydraulic panel is set. Flaps are up. Parking brake is set. Engine start levers are cut off and weather radar is off. The boo. All right. Let's just bring that bridge over here if we can find it. Let's see. Jetway. There we go. Just going to be a little bit of a tight turn, but she's going to make it. And then we can start setting up for the return leg. So let's just check this out. One leg left to go. St. Louis back to DFW, and we are done. Let's go ahead to the current flight page and do a sim brief dispatch really quickly here. And for some reason, we use the same flight number for the turnaround. It's weird. And there are some airlines that do that. I've noticed that in the past, that there are some airlines that reuse the same flight number to turn around. So let's go ahead and set a random payload on this one here. Even less people going back. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is, first things first, I'm just going to take a little break here because I need to go use the lavatory. But I will be back in just a couple of minutes, and we'll set up for that return leg. Hopefully, Squibbly, you can get the sim rebooted and rejoin me for the second leg there. It's a shame that it crashed on the taxi in there, but we'll see what we can do. We'll get this turned around nice and quick here. So in the meantime, I'm just going to put us away for just a moment here. We're just going to take a very brief little break here. So stay tuned, guys. We are going to get the next flight set up, and we're going to get underway in just a couple minutes. Thanks for watching, and we'll be right back.